to Forex NewYork Session and Forex NFP live stream. So we will be for the first time streaming live on NFP, and so first of all I will try to explain my this buy stop in GBP GBP we currently have a bullish move, and I am expecting if price break above this high we can keep pushing up almost 30-40 pips at this point. So that's why I have placed my buy stop, but we will see if it starts to break above the high. If the candle closes something like this, I may remove my buy stop. So we are just waiting. Basically this is pattern 1. We have this zone, our 162.400 area. Prices broke below that zone, done a fake out, closed back inside the range. So I am expecting prices to keep pushing up from this area, but anything can happen, and we are ready to execute on this trade, and we are open to anything that market will provide us. For now we just need to wait. My stop loss here will be around 15 pips. Yes, so this is my stop. If prices are to move up, prices will respect this stop. If not, we will be stopped out. Of course we will manage our stops, and for now we are just waiting. We need to wait for 7 more minutes. But at this point we are just waiting. In gold, if we look at H1, we are just consolidating. We have done a fake out basically below 1738 area. We tested our 1733 zone that we have drawn earlier, but at this point we are just waiting. If we look at M30 prices are moving up, but if we look at this area, the volume in this area was very low, and we have very high volatile event in 1 hour and 30 minutes. So we are just waiting. This is the trade as per my plan, as per my patterns. This is basically a pattern 1. If it activates my order, it activates, else you know what, I will remove my stops at the end of this candle. And in gold we basically needs to buy break above 1748 to potentially go into a bullish move, but at this point we are just waiting. In GBP H1 candle is about to close. I will remove my and yes, at this point we are just waiting. M30 candle is closing in 4 minutes. Let's see how this M30 candle will close. And in gold we will basically waiting for NFP, we are waiting for volume to hit into markets. Other than that, we are just waiting. Waiting for 3 more minutes before I will remove my buy stops in GBP JPY, because if I am expecting this volume to keep pushing up, I want current M15 candle to respect the low of previous 15 candle and potentially keep pushing up. If that doesn't happen, I will be out of this buy stop. And for NFP, I would like to explain that I will not enter into market on news candle, but I will be waiting for some patterns to appear before the news or after the news, and I maybe trade those patterns. So we are just waiting at this point. We are respecting below the low of previous candle, and we are also respecting the high of previous candle. So we will see how this candle will close. Candle closing in 2 minutes. So at this point, M15 candle has closed, and it has closed bearish. If I wanted price to keep pushing up, I didn't want to any candle to close like this bearish candle. So at this point, I am removing my buy stop, because it may go into buy and it may hit our potential like 50-60 pips take profit at this point. But this thing doesn't make sense, because basically we consolidated for 30 minutes in this area. I basically placed my buy stop once this candle first created upper wick and then started moving lower, and I placed my buy stops, but that buy stop wasn't activated. So it basically means market is not interested in moving up for at least for some period of time. It may move up later on, but at this point our buy stops doesn't make sense. So we are just waiting. We may move up, but that's okay. If we look at our pattern one, we basically faked below 161 point, uh, 162.500 area. We closed back in, and so there is very high probability we can keep pushing up, but I have removed buy stops because I don't want it to risk on something that is sort of consolidating. I want clear patterns and I want my entry to go into profits in first 5 to 10 minutes. Other than that, I will just close my entry at in break even, in small loss, or in small profit. That's it. Because I am a scalper and I don't like to hold my trades for long. That's the only reason I will stay away from GBP JPY buys at this point. However, I am executing these buys on my demo account. If these trades hit my stop, that's okay because it is just a demo account. And now we are just looking at gold and at GBP with JPY to see if we can find any potential moves for NFP, or we may or basically we are trying to draw our bias for NFP today. So let's do that. If I look in gold in H4 time frame, I can see that we are basically creating an area of consolidation just like this area, and we can keep potentially moving down. But the whole idea is that we have dropped from the start of week. We basically consolidated on Monday, we dropped on Tuesday, we consolidated and dropped on Wednesday, we consolidated on Thursday. So there is very low probability in my opinion that price will keep pushing down, because today is Friday and there is a probability we can get some entries in buys. If we break above 1748 area, there is very high probability for prices to keep pushing up till 1760 area. So that's my whole bias. I am basically looking at, if we break above 1748 area, there is very high probability for prices to keep pushing up till 1760 area. And if we are looking for shorts, we will look for shorts below 1733 area. But shorts, in my opinion, is very risky at this point, because we have dropped for previous 4 days without any reasonable retracement. So Fridays are usually the days where retracement come. So maybe we can find some retracement and find some trade in gold at NFP or later into New York session. But for now we are just waiting. We need to wait for 3 more hours. It is pretty long time and we will be waiting for 3 long hours. I hope my analysis makes sense. So I will write down the summary of my analysis. My bias is buys in gold. Why my bias is buys in gold? Because of the reasons that I have explained earlier. I am expecting buys in gold. If we look at GBP JPY, GBP JPY is consolidating, sort of consolidation from previous 3 candles. For our pattern 3 to work, we don't need such sort of consolidation. Even if prices activate my buy stop at this point, I would have closed everything in minor drawdown, because the whole idea is not to hold the trade that is going in drawdown. or that is going in against you. So that's the whole idea. So let me take screenshot of this because I wanted to see how can I adjust this issue. So let's look at my blog where I explained my patterns. So pattern 1, pattern 4, pattern 3 and pattern 2. Yes. So basically this was pattern 1. We know the conditions. Let's look at pattern 2. In pattern 2 what we need. Basically this is pattern 4 in which we were falling down. The overall higher time frame trend was bearish. We fake out below this support zone and we fake out above this resistance zone, and this was our entry for probable shorts. And yeah, that's it. It was a very risky trade because if we enter from here at 1798, our stops will be around 1804, around 40 pips of stop. And there is this candle may wick up first and then continue moving down, but this is the way things are. This is our pattern 4, and it is very difficult on pattern 4 to manage your risk like we usually do on our pattern 1, but we will find some way to lower our uh, risk in pattern 4 if things go against us. Let's look at our pattern 3. This is our pattern 3. Basically we faked below, move up, consolidated, move up, and then faked up. Basically in this pattern we require H4 support and resistances. We faked below H4 resistance and we faked above H4 resistance, and then when these patterns appear, this was our entry for shorts. I will enter right here, place my stop above this wick, and I will manage my stop if things go against me. So this is the way things are. In gold, we are just waiting. Overall trend is bearish, but I basically my bias is bias in gold only if we break above 1748. For sells, better sell will appear below 1733 area. Other than that, it is in our best interest to wait for something that we recognize from past. So today will be a long waiting game. We are waiting for new NFP news to come. NFP news will be around 1 hour and 20 minutes from now, and yeah, we are just waiting basically at this point. If we look in GBP/JPY, the higher time frame H4 candle is the closing in 2 hours, and it has basically broken above the high of previous bearish H4 candle. So at this point, in my opinion, the sells don't make sense because we have two bullish H1 candles. Price may retrace down to potentially keep pushing up because we have because it and we are basically looking for buys above 163.084 area above this candle wick. For shorts, we do need to wait for more confirmations. We can probably enter shorts below 162.500 area to potentially test 161.800 area, but at this point we are just waiting. In gold, entering before news when there is very little to low volume, it makes no sense for us, so we are just waiting. We are just waiting at this point. If we are to move up, we need to break above these wicks. If we are to move down, our better shots will be at least below 162.700 area. In gold, we are just waiting. Nothing in gold, there is very less volume at this point, and probably a volume will hit markets in few hours. I still believe that I will be able to capture some trades later into New York session, and yeah. In JPY, there were two big body candles, and I was anticipating that another big body candle may appear that will potentially push price to 163.500 area. But once this bearish M15 candle closed, I knew that the volume that we see from previous two bars is now dying. That's the whole reason to close this trade, because this trade was based on pattern 1. If we look at our, this was our demo trade, so let it run. And in gold, if we look at, we are just waiting and there is nothing that we can do at this point. We will probably wait a lot today. We look at M30, previous M30 candle closed bearish. We are waiting for this M30 candle to close, and we might push up in second half of this H1 candle. But it is just an anticipation, so I am not executing anything on this thing. We are just waiting. We will wait for 35 more minutes for New York session to open, and we have a big news almost 1 hour from now. So we are just waiting. Probably waiting in gold makes more sense as compared to GBP JPY, because in gold we have news coming, and we will also be looking at GBP CAD today, just to look at how CAD will move. I will not trade GBP CAD, but I am just looking at what can happen in GBP CAD. GBP CAD, because we have CAD employment change news. If we will start by looking from higher time frame, monthly candle is keep pushing down. We are moving down from previous 6 months. The only reason is that CAD is keep on increasing its interest rate, and if we look at weekly, we are pushing down, and if we look at daily, we have basically a support area at this point. We have a resistance area at this point, and let's look at lower time frame. These are basically two areas, and in my opinion, let's look at lower time frame first. All right, we are this is our H4 zones, and this range is around 490 pips, and this is around 110 pips. And if we break above 1.56 area, we can potentially keep pushing up, and if we break below this area, let's look left to see what is on the left below this daily zone. We don't have anything to the left below this daily zone until into 2014. We have something below this zone in 2014, man, come on. Yeah, if we break this zone, we have another zone at this area, and if we break further down, we have another zone at this area. So uh, if we measure these areas, this is around 46 pips, and this is around 150 pips. So our analysis is simple. We either need to break above this area to potentially keep pushing up in this, I would say, at least 100 pips range, and if we break, we need to break below 1.54 to potentially keep pushing down. But these are just assumptions. We want candle closing above or below this area to potentially keep pushing up or down. And let's look at our calendar, and so this news is about in 1 hour from now, and yeah, we are excited and we are waiting for this news. If we look at news, who is this Marcos? Former, oh, so ECB is also, yeah, interested in increasing its rates for I don't know how many times, but if we look at news, only ECB has zero interest rate. On July 21st, there is a probability that ECB will increase their rates to 0.25, and basically they have kept their rates same from 2020. And if we look back, there were 0.05% on 2016. Yeah, it was 1.5% in 2011. They kept decreasing the rates, and rates were zero on 2016, and they are now planning to increase the rates. But the whole idea is they are lowering their rates from October 2008. If we look at graph, yeah, if here is the information, we have rates around 4.64 on March, 2001 on 2004 we have rates around 2, and then they gradually increase the rate to 4, and then they dropped, and now they have 0, so they are also planning to increase their rates. So if we look at JPY, let's see if they are also planning to increase their rates. They have kept the rates basically same from previous 5 years. And what about this? And they also have they have also increased their rates from June 2012 2022. So we are just waiting to see. Basically every country in the world is increasing their rates, interest rates. And oh, it's Philippines. All right, so we are just waiting at this point. Yeah, so you see GBP JPY is now moving up, and there is now very high probability for GJ to keep pushing up. And yeah, it is the last half of this 1 hour candle. If we are to push up, we need to respect this low right over here, around 15-16 pips. And yeah, this is my demo trade. That's why I am holding this trade. Other than that, I didn't execute this trade on my real account, because this trade sort of violated one of conditions for pattern 1 to execute a trade. And if we look at gold, we are just consolidating, and we need to give time to markets to settle down, and we may probably have entered a trade. It requires some time to settle down. We are just in consolidation. Volume is very little at this point, and it makes no sense to execute a trade at this point, especially when the volume is very low. So we are just waiting. So we are waiting for news. The news will be here in around 50 minutes. So let's see how things will play out. GBP JPY. There is still a probability, in my opinion, that we can keep pushing up, but we need to respect this area 162.900. So let's lower our stop to this area, and if prices are to move up, then there is no chance for market to hit our stops. If not, we will be stopped out. And if we look at gold, nothing. We just need to wait for 22 more minutes. We are basically waiting at this point, waiting for NFP. So you see why I closed my GBP JPY buy stops, because this is what I was expecting, a consolidation. So we are creating an other area of consolidation at this point, and we are just waiting at this point. Gold, we are stuck in a range. We need to either break above or below this range. Other than that, our entries will make no sense. Waiting here at this point will make more sense. M15 candle has closed, and nothing, man, nothing in here. And this M15 candle has basically rejected from the highs, previous week rejection, and nothing in here also. Now if we are to move bullish, we need to break above this area, and If we want to move bearish, we need to break below 162.800 area, because this is consolidation and we do need to wait to break outside of these. And nothing. In GBP JPY we have a clear analysis. We wanted to break above this area for potential buys or below this area for potential shorts. In around 42 minutes NFP will be released, and then probably we can find some trades. Ten minutes left in candle closing. We are respecting this low, but that doesn't mean anything for now. We are just waiting at this point. We need to wait for 40 more minutes. At this point, it doesn't make any sense to hold these trades, and I will close all. We are waiting in gold for 30 more minutes. So the hourly candle has closed and we are now in New York Open, and GBP basically have rejected from that area. H1 candle is very weak bullish candle, so nothing in GBP JPY at this point, and in gold we are just consolidating. We have a very high volatile event in just 30 minutes, so we are just waiting. 30 more minutes before the fireworks starts. We are just consolidating. We are waiting for volume. Basically, in my opinion, we will be able to capture a pretty good trade after this news. But for now, we are just consolidating and there is nothing that we can do or we can anticipate. We are just waiting at this point. We are waiting for news. There is no volume present in gold at this point. In GBP JPY we are basically breaking above the highs in first 3 minutes. So we are just waiting. We need to wait for 26 more minutes so that news may come into market and then maybe we can decide something about our trades. But for now we are just waiting and we are just consolidating. Just waiting at this point. we want to we need to wait for 23 more minutes. We are just waiting, waiting and waiting. GBP is breaking above the wick to left, but it is of no use for us because we are not entering on this trade, and we will probably wait. We are just waiting at this point. We are just waiting at this point. There is nothing that we can do at this point. And GBP JPY, our whole analysis was buy, but I want this candle to keep pushing up, but that didn't happen. So I sort of closed my trades. It was basically a buy stop. I didn't enter into market. If I was in the market, I would have closed that trade right away because it doesn't make any sense for me to hold a trade that is going against me. Now, in my opinion, we are approaching 1748 area before news, before 13 minutes before a volatile news. So, in my opinion, the news candle may fake out above this area, but we need to be very careful, and I will explain the scenarios after the news. GBP CAD is also moving up before the news. So we have basically two areas. We wanted prices to break above or below these areas for potential trade. And yeah, we are just waiting. If we look at our calendar, where is our calendar gone? They are basically anticipating weak US dollar and weak CAD at this point. But anything can happen. Even if we have a fake, we have a weak US dollar, still gold can drop. As we have anticipated from our interest rate news is, so anything can happen, and we are open to any opportunity that market will present us. GBP JPY is moving up. If we look at it, first of all, we need to draw our. This was H4 support, and if we draw our resistance, is it? Yeah, it is basically a H4 resistance. And if we look at our pattern 4, there is a probability, still a probability that we can get a trade based on pattern 3. Sorry, not pattern 4, it's pattern 3. You see, we have strong H4 support, prices fake out below, moved up, consolidated, moved up again. This was H4 resistance level. We basically done a fake out above this level, closed below, and then continue moving down. This scenario can happen in GBP JPY, but we are open to any idea. However, if I see this trade idea, I will execute it on my demo account because I don't have any enough experience with this pattern 3. Volume is present, so basically weekly daily trend was down, that's why I execute uh, this was the definition of pattern 3. So maybe that thing will reappear today, and maybe we will be able to execute that trade. For now, we are just waiting. Gold is pushing down on Comet Comics open volume. This candle is of 25 pips, and it is Comet Comics open volume candle. And for sake of practice, it is my bias that we will keep pushing up. So I will place a buy stop only on my demo account. I will not execute it on my real account, and my stops will be around 50 pips. We are just waiting at this point. We need to wait for 8 more minutes. In 8 minutes, our numbers will be announced. We are just waiting for news at this point, and I will not execute at news candle, but I will execute later on if something of interest was shown to me. But for now, we are just waiting. So M30 candle is basically rejecting from 1743 area, and there is nothing so far. Maybe we can identify it later after it appears, but at this point there is nothing. We want this candle to close, and then maybe we will be able to execute. For now we are just waiting. We need to wait for 4 more minutes. If we look at H1, there is very little to no volume so far in markets because we have wicks above and below these candles. So we are basically waiting for volume and for NFP numbers to be announced, and then later on we can find some good trades. So at this point, this is my analysis for gold. In my opinion, it will keep its move up, but if we break above 1748 area, other than that, we will be waiting for something that we recognize from past, and then maybe we can enter a trade. 1 minute left in NFP news. All right, so we pushed up and down, and you see it was a man. This was so scary, man. This was so scary. We moved up and 100 pips, and we moved down 100 pips, man. It just blew my mind. Alright, let's look at CAD. CAD just consolidated. If we look at gold in here, there is some sort of problem with my broker, that this spike didn't appeared in other liquidity providers. So this thing, man, this, I don't know why it appeared. Let me look at other brokers. Basically, this spike up didn't appeared in other brokers. I don't know why it appeared in our broker, but that's why I sort of stay away from news trading. We want this candle to close, and then maybe we can anticipate where prices can go. Yeah, this thing didn't appear in any other broker except on the broker that I am using. So it's very frustrating, that we just spiked up first and then continued moving down. So all we need to do at this point is to neglect this wick, because this is just a wick that isn't, just consider that this wick is not present here, and we have just wicked below 1733. We have dropped like 100 pips and rejected. We want this candle to close to potentially see where prices can go, but at this point we are just waiting. Let's look at the data on news. On news, the numbers were good. That's why we dropped in gold. We need to neglect this wick because it isn't present in other brokers, and just like that. We are just waiting for candles to close, and maybe we can find some entries later on, but at this point we are just waiting. You are just waiting at this point. And there was some sort of technical glitch on my broker. If we look at some other broker, so let's look at this. So this is the correct market structure at this point. So we will use this market structure. We have a zone at 1734 and we are basically waiting for prices to break above 1744 for potential move up or probably wait above 1747 and then we can find some excellent entry, but at this point it is of no use to enter at this level. We are just waiting and waiting. If we look at GBP we basically moved up and then done a retest of 163 area. We can potentially keep pushing up to 163.800 area. So we are just waiting. We may not be able to find an excellent trade today. In that scenario, we will just close our live stream and enjoy our weekend. But for now, it is in our best interest to wait for 45 more minutes, and there is a probability that we can find some trades in 45 minutes. There is nothing at this point. We have waited a lot and will probably wait a lot, but nothing at this point. I am waiting for, I will wait for 1 more hour before I will, and after that I will close my live stream. And staying away from news scandal was a pretty good idea, and we have saved our, at least I have saved myself from at least 100 pips of loss just by avoiding news trading. I was burnt enough time, so I don't care how much money other guys have made, but it's not my time and it is not what I used to trade, so that's why I avoided this. On the other hand, I am waiting if prices break above 1740 and show us some sort of volume, we will enter in buy trades just like we entered yesterday. But we need to wait. Yeah, so candles are forming the way I wanted to see. So, but we need to wait for at least 15 more minutes. I am basically getting myself ready because I believe that now there is very high probability I can find some excellent buy trades above 1744, and if that doesn't appear it will not bother me, and but yeah, that's my trade and I will execute on that trade. Getting myself ready. We want candles to close. 6 minutes left in candle close, and in 36 minutes we will be heading towards NYSE open. So yeah, things now started to make sense. Wait for 5 more minutes and see how this 15-minute candle will close, and then maybe we can find some trades. Waiting for candles to close in 3 minutes, and then maybe we can find something. Waiting for current M15 candle to close. Right, the 15-minute candle and 30-minute candles have now closed. H1 candle has still closed below these wicks to the left hand side, and yeah, but I am looking at M15. If we were able to break above 1744, there is high probability we can keep pushing up, and at that point I may execute buys. In GBP/JPY, our analysis was we are in buys till 163.800 area, and we have covered like 50 pips in our direction, but we are just waiting, and we need to wait for 30 more minutes in NYSE open. Maybe at NYSE I will be able to find some trade. Other than that, we will trade on next week. Yeah, we are waiting for current M15 candle to close, and then maybe we can find an entry based on our pattern one. But we want this candle to close. We will wait for 12 more minutes. We are just waiting. We need to wait for current M15 candle to close in about 11 minutes, and then maybe we can find an entry based on pattern one. But for now there is nothing. We are just waiting. GBP I am going to close my live stream in 24 more minutes. I want to see the thing in gold maybe so that I can execute a trade, but waiting makes more sense here. Waiting for 22 more minutes until we will close this live stream, and nothing for me guess I guess at this point, but that's okay. Looking to see how this candle will close. waiting for 19 more minutes, and at that point I will exit my position. M15 candles are about to close in 1 minute and I still see no volume. Maybe the move will be will present itself later into New York session. NYSE will open in 16 minutes. But at this point it now makes sense to just go offline. Enjoy your weekend and come back on Monday again. M15 candle has closed. It hasn't closed the way I wanted it to close, but still it is a valid close for our buys above 1743. But we need to wait for 15 more minutes. At that time, NYSE will open and M30 candles will close, and we will get a clear picture if we are going to move up or not. We are just waiting for NYSE open. We are anticipating buys above 1744 area only if we see something that matches our criteria to execute a trade. Other than that, we will just go with our day. So, alright, we are testing the previous M15 candle highs, so it is a good thing for our buys above 1744 area. But we do need to wait for NYSE. So we have now broken above 15-minute candle, so it do make sense for we are basically heading towards valid pattern 1 execution. We are just waiting on next candle. If this candle close near about 1743 on next candle, if next candle wicks below first, then I will be ready to execute buys in gold. I'm getting myself prepared for buys, and yes, that's it. We are just waiting for 11 more minutes in NYSE open, and then maybe we can execute a trade. Yes, this is what I was looking for, but I wanted this candle to close, and on next candle I will execute a buy position. So I am getting myself ready. Our whole bias for GBP JPY is now almost, it is now in 60 pips profit from our mentioned entry point, but we didn't execute this trade because this trade wasn't a valid trade based on our criteria. In gold, we may be able to find a good trade in next 15 to 30 minutes. So I am ready for anything that market will present me. We want this candle to close near about 1743 area for potential buys. uh, previous day was we were able to capture a good buy entry on NYSE Open, so maybe today we can also get a good buy entry on NYSE Open, but we need to wait for 7 more minutes for that. After that, M30 and M15 candles will close and we will get a clear picture of what to if we are to execute this trade or not. Like if I it's around 46 pips, that's why I want next candle to wick low first and then starts to break above the highs, where I will execute my trade by placing the stop loss below the wick, because at this point if I enter, my stops will be around 46 pips, and that doesn't make any sense for me to enter at this point. So we are just waiting. Yeah, candle is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. We need to wait for 6 more minutes. Getting myself ready for to execute on this buy trade. Yes, this candle should close here and it will be perfect for our buys on next candle. But I still believe that volume is very low. So we'll see how the things will present. closing in about 2 minutes. So let's see how this candle will close. So the candle has closed at 1742, still reasonable, but we want a lower wick on current 15-minute candle, and then we can execute a buys above this area. But it if but if it starts going bullish in without creating a lower wick, I will not let prices execute my buy stops. We have around 40 pips of stop at this area, and yes, so candles are now creating a lower wick. So at this point, yeah, so if now prices candle flips bullish, this is where I will execute my buy position. I am ready to manage my stops, manage my risk if things go against me. And yes, that's all from my side today. Just waiting. I want this candle to flip bullish first. M30 candle has closed bullish candle, but it has a wick to the upside. Market can continue moving up, but it all depends. At this point, my stops is around 27 to 28 pips. And yes, we are just waiting at this point. If this candle flips bullish, we can easily get like 40 pips at this point. And we are just waiting. We are just waiting for candle to flip bullish and continue moving up. Just waiting at this point. If current 15-minute candle fails to break peak hours buy stop, then I will call it a day and I will close my buy stop at that point. Just waiting. We want current 15-minute candle to pick our buy stop and potentially keep moving up. If that doesn't happen, we will exit our buy stop and move on with our day. So at this point, if this candle close bearish, this will be our pattern 4. But I am exhausted and I am just waiting for current 15-minute candle. If it flips bullish and picks my buy stop to potentially keep moving up. Other than that, I am out from everything. Alright, 7 more minutes left in this M15 candle closing. We are just consolidating, and in my view, we may not be able to break above the highs. Then In 6 more minutes I will be closing everything. I still believe that we can potentially keep pushing up in next I would say 20 minutes. If we don't, then we are out at 1739. Will be our stops right here around 30 pips. Alright, we have officially broken below the low of previous 15-minute candle, and I don't like this thing. I don't like the fact that we have broken below the previous 15-minute candle low. However, we will wait for we will wait to see how current 15-minute candle will close, and then maybe we will be able to find some trade. But we are sitting for 3 straight hours in front of charts at this point, and I am ready to close everything, and I am ready to go off with my day at this point. This week was very slow week for if we look at our patterns, we were only able to find 3 trades. We missed a lot of trades because we don't have any enough experience to trade those setups, and I have taken notes of what I have missed for this week, and maybe in next week we will be able to capture some pretty good trades. I wanted to see how this 15-minute candle will close, and yes, that's all for me for today. Our patience paid us a lot today. We were anticipating buyers above this area, but that setup was delayed due to market just wanted to take a rest at that point. So we just exit our buy stop, else we may be stopped out or we may have closed our position in drawdown. And yes, this was the one trade I was anticipating can go in buy, and it went, although it went in buy, but it was dirty trade setup. In gold, I was anticipating this current M15 candle to wick below first and then continue moving up, but it has broken below the low of previous 15-minute candle, and still in my opinion volume is low in gold, so I will just remove my buy stop in 1 more minute and continue with my day. And then GBP we do want it to close somewhere around here below previous candle low, so that we can potentially execute a trade on demo. And this trade is now invalid because candles are closing in 30 seconds, and that's it. I will basically watch this setup. If it plays out, there is around 50 pips. We can potentially capture around 50 pips at this point. Let's look at gold. Gold is about to close below previous candle low. There is still a very high probability prices can keep pushing up later in New York session, but at this point I will just close everything. And yes, so this is our pattern 4 and I am executing this trade on my, but the only problem is that it have didn't done a fake out above 163 area. This was my only problem, but still I will execute it. My stops is around 24 pips to potentially target around 42 pips. Nothing in gold at this point. I will go offline and I will see you guys.